Hello, good night, welcome LinkedIn. Welcome to my new show, Transcending Work, Harnessing the Courage to Lead. So you may not know me. If you do not, my name is Katherine Ann Byam. I am the owner of a consulting firm based in the UK, and I also do business and career coaching. I'm on a mission to transcend work, and I'm on a mission to help 1 million people do that. And the way that I do that is through my coaching programs, mainly through my podcast, Where Ideas Launch, which will go live next week. So today's topic is about courage and about fear and the imposter syndrome. So it's a nice way to start off this program, and I will be bringing on some really exciting guests in the coming weeks. But tonight is a solo show. So let's get going. So tonight's topic is about fear and the imposter syndrome. But first of all, I want to start talking about platforms and having this platform and what it means for me and my business. So as a Caribbean woman who's come to the UK for work, I really appreciate LinkedIn giving me this platform to air my voice, to share my thoughts, to advocate for things that are meaningful and important, like equality, diversity, and sustainability. Thank you, Isabel and Carlos. Thank you for saying hello. So, in this way, I'm able to raise issues that are important to our populace, that are important for the world as we go forward. This year has been tough for a lot of us, and it still continues to be tough as things continue to change. So, it's really important that we understand what role we play and how our voice, each one of us, is important in this struggle. So, I wanted to talk about this topic because I think a lot of us feel it. I feel it now. That feeling of adrenaline rush when you have to do something that's challenging and difficult. That feeling of the palpitations, of your heart beating faster, of your voice sounding strange. And in reality, this is your body preparing you for action. So we talk about the fight or flight response. And in reality, it's the same kind of chemical reaction that's happening in your body, whether you choose fight or flight. So your body is preparing you for a response, and you get to choose what that response is. So for me, that's been the easiest way that I can deal with fear, and I can deal with showing up and being in my courage and being in my power to advocate for something that's important. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. If I would be shy about that, I wouldn't be able to do this. And I know that my voice is important. The other thing I have to share is that fear is about this idea of feeling like you could die or feeling like someone won't love you. These are the two ways that we process fear. In reality, most things won't kill us. There are times when a fear of death is useful, like when you need to avoid a cyclist or a car. But usually, you're not going to die. The second one is about fear of not being loved. But in reality, what is that about? If we go through life thinking that everyone needs to love us, we're going to have a hard time. That's true. There will always be people that have different opinions from us, and the point is to debate and discuss them, not to fear them. We must approach debate. We must be embracing of different ideas, different discussions. And this is why we must show up with our truth. All right. So those are two central ideas. And probably what I'd like to do now is take it into an example of me starting my business. When I got started, I thought I knew what I was doing. I was super confident. I wanted to get out there, do the consulting work that I'd imagine I can do, work on sustainability, work on big projects and big ideas. When I got started, it was not at all like that. It took a long time to build, to learn digital marketing, to learn all the things that I needed to do in my business to make it stronger. I had to face that, and I had to face a number of failures along the way. And I've written lots of articles about that because the truth is, in failure, you learn, and in failure, you grow. Now I can be here confident in saying that I've had 3 very good months in my business, but this is after a year of working in my business. And I've learned an incredible amount that I can share and pass on to people who are now considering this as an option for them as they move on from their current work or they move on from uh, entertainment or these types of industries that are struggling at the moment. Today, I had a lovely chat with a young chap who just left his job at Gatwick. And he was incredibly generous about what he'd learned from the company and what he could now come out into the world and do. And that's the truth. Sometimes when we're thinking on the imposter syndrome side, we think, okay, we don't know everything that there is to know nowadays. Maybe we're not the best at data science. Maybe we're not the best analysts. But that's not the only jobs that are needed today. We really need people with a high level of emotional intelligence. We need people who can communicate, who can sell ideas, who can imagine new ideas. We need to reimagine how we run capitalism today as a first start. And that creates so many opportunities. So we really need to embrace the courage, not the confidence, because when we don't know what's going to happen, but the courage to stand up and do something that will make a difference. So I'd like to invite any questions from the audience before we move on to the next topic. So if you have any thoughts on what I've said so far, please feel free to shout about it and tell me what you think. So while you think about your responses, I'll talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. So this is something that afflicts so many people, no matter where you are, if you're in the boardroom or if you're on the shop floor. And what it is a feeling of I'm not sure that people are going to like what I have to say, usually, right? It's a fear of standing up there and making a fool of yourself or being a failure for some reason. Now, the first thing that you need to think about when you're facing a fear like this or facing the imposter syndrome is to really be specific about what it is that you're doubting. If you give yourself bandwidth to have a generalized doubt about something, then usually that ends in you not being able to perform. So be as specific as possible about what it is that you're doubting, because then that allows you to close the gap. So this is a great strategy for helping yourself to lead despite feeling that sense of fear. The other strategy that I use is recalling a time. And what this is about remembering when you felt strong about this area before, whether it be in the past weeks or months when you had meetings about it with your teams, or even before that at school, or wherever you had an occasion to demonstrate a certain level of knowledge. Recall a time and recall that time just before you perform. And in recalling that time, you have to embody it. So it is about feeling what you felt throughout your body, remembering that strength and that posture that you had that allowed you to go further. And this process helps you to rise to the stage that you have to rise to. The third one is about your physical state. So there's a lot that I talk about on the physical and the mental side, and I believe that both work very well together. They work hand in hand. If you change your physical state to one of great posture and stature, and you walk proudly, you have a power pose, as Amy Cuddy would say. This really helps you to move beyond that feeling of uncertainty and insecurity. Then there are two more tips, and these tips are about your affirmations, and I'll talk a little bit about these for a moment. So there's a process that I follow every day in journaling, which helps me to get stronger on things that I think that I'm weak on. The first thing that I ask myself when I'm journaling is, how was my process today? So if you have a particular topic that you're weak on and you do it from time to time, ask yourself, how was my process on this topic? Am I happy with my process? And we're just talking about the process, not yourself, right? So the important thing is to separate you from the process. Once you understand what you need to do about the process, think about the opportunities, right? So, what opportunities you have to improve it? What have you seen? What references do you have? Once you've been able to identify those references, then you can start working on a small improvement plan. So, one action that you would do differently the next time. Now, if you do this process on a daily basis, you can see how that good habit accumulates. So, as James Clear says, habits are the compound interest of self improvement. And this is so true. So, developing a habit of journaling is very positive. The last thing that I journal every single night is about what am I really proud of? So, what are you proud of in the way that you've performed today around this particular task? Again, it's not about you, but it's about the task and what you were proud of. So you've got to separate yourself from the event and process it as if it's a system that you need to improve. Okay? So this is one way of doing it. When I talk about writing affirmations, it's about writing things that then empower you to deal with that situation the next time. It's not about denying whether it was successful or not successful or failed or not failed, but it's more about recording and reliving and working through that experience from the lens of self improvement. Then, speaking affirmations. So, this is about speaking out loud what it is that you're feeling in your private moments or your private space. But this also helps you to get ready to face whatever it is you have to face. So, it is aligned to Amy Cuddy's work as well. And it's giving yourself a bit of a nudge to move into the state that you want to move into. So I have found these steps very useful for getting on here, doing these lives, working through these lives, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I remember I used to be told this statement often, and I didn't understand what it meant until I really started to understand the power of embodiment and understanding what that does for the way that I'm feeling in my head as well as my body. So these are my tips. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer as well on the replay. If you watch this on the replay, do tag me in so that I could come in and give you answers to questions as well. So, just a bit about what's coming up for my business. So, I mentioned that my podcast starts on the 7th of October, and the podcast will launch with 3 great episodes. So the first feature is Isabelle Chabot. She is a lecturer from Grenoble École de Management, head of the MSc in fashion, and also the MBA in luxury brand management. I also have Alexander Osterwalder. Don't mind that I've said him second. Alex allowed me to ask him 3 questions for this podcast, which I think you will find very insightful. And it's about culture, innovation, and sustainability. And the third guest that I will be launching with is my own business coach, Lisa Johnson, who is a passive income specialist and who has managed to continue to grow her business throughout this crisis. So she will talk about how to implement ways of not trading your time purely for money. So I'm super excited about these projects, and I'm also excited about this program. This program will continue for the foreseeable future, and it will be a different format most weeks. I always have to have a backup speech prepared in case someone does not show up on the call, but we will have interviews with people from all over the world. So next week, I interview a guest. I will not call her name yet, but she is a prominent figure in Nigeria, and she was voted the 3rd most influential person of the year. So we're going to have a chat with her and about how she has managed her career to grow in such success. And in the following weeks, we will have some other very interesting attendees who will talk about their own businesses as entrepreneurs, as well as them in their corporate lives. So I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to any comments and questions that you have. So please feel free to tag me in and ask me anything. See you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.